Hello, everybody, and welcome to the pre-Super Bowl edition of The Last Word. I'm your host, TJ Chamberlain, and I had just realized something when I was getting ready to film. We're hitting 200 episodes later in the year. It's going to be like October or so. But yeah, 200 episodes is happening this year. Again, this is 166. So, some of them 166 episodes of these. Can't complain there. But yeah, we begin with, of course, the Super Bowl that is happening this weekend. The Seahawks and the Patriots. And what do I think is going to happen in this Super Bowl? Well, right now, Seattle is favored by 4.5. But do I think that they are going to win? I mean, New England, I didn't think they'd make it anywhere close to the Super Bowl at the start of the season. I thought they'd win maybe a playoff game or two. Same with Seattle. I'm like, oh, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, he kind of fizzled out the last few games in Minnesota. But he's actually done very well this year. He's done very well. Also helps that you have JSN having a career year. On top of that, you have a really good running back duo. Well, actually, it was a running back duo. Now it is single running back because Zach Charbonnet tore his ACL in the NFC Championship game. You still have Kenneth Walker. He is in a contract year. You do have to try to extend him after the season. So that's another thing. But Charbonnet coming off a torn ACL is going to be a little bit rough, especially for when it happened. He should be fine probably for training camp. Also, Rashid Shaheed's been a really good addition. They got him for a 4th and a 5th at the deadline. A.J. Barner, I thought it was going to be Elijah Arroyo that was going to step up to be the tight end one. A.J. Barner's actually been having a pretty good season. Then on defense, of course, where do I even start? Byron Murphy having a really good second year. DeMarcus Lawrence coming over from Dallas. Leonard Williams still being a stud. Ernest Jones, Devon Witherspoon, Kobe Bryant, Julian Love, Josh Jobe. Nick Imanwari, which, he's a dog. He's a rookie, too. And it's like, your rookie, basically your rookie third quarter is 6'3", 220. Freak of nature. Also, Jason Myers has been money this year, too. He's been in the league for a minute. This is his 11th season. And he is still money. He's been his first 3 seasons in Jacksonville. Then it's been a season with the Jets. Then he's been in Seattle since 2019. So he has been around the block with this team. But he's doing good. He's been doing good this year. This is a career year for him at age 34. And, of course, the Patriots, you have MVP finalist Drake May. You also have, along with Drake May, you have the running back duo of Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson, which Steve-O's been doing good. Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, who's having a career year, which, yes, actually, no, he's not having a career year. I thought so. I thought he actually had more yards than he did. He only has 551 yards. I know he was injured, but at the same time, I mean, Diggs had over 1,000 yards. Hunter Henry had a really good season. He was tied for 15th in touchdown. Of course, the offensive line upgrade. You drafted Will Campbell. You picked up Garrett Bradbury. You picked up guys to upgrade the offensive line and also upgrade the defense. You got Harold Landry. Robert Spillane's been a good addition. Carlton Davis. Jalen Hawkins, who was already with the... No, he was with Atlanta. And then spent the last 2 years with the Patriots, having a really good year this year. Also, Marcus Jones, who's been probably the best special teams guy in the NFL. Also, Chase on defense, Christian Ellis. Milton Williams was their big addition in the offseason. He won a Super Bowl with Philadelphia last year and then got a lot of money. So who do I think wins? I think the Patriots end up winning Lombardi number 7, becoming the first team to win 7 Super Bowls. And there will be a huge celebration. Also, speaking of the Patriots and reasons of their Lombardis, Bill Belichick was not a first ballot Hall of Famer when the news came out last week. Which, I'm going to say this. That's a complete joke. I'm not going to hold back with this. Normally, I'm kind of calm with this. That's a joke. Bill Belichick, who won 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots, plus an additional 2 as a member of the Giants, is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Hello? And apparently there were not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, not 10, but apparently I think it's like 12 people that voted against him not being a Hall of Famer. You do realize what you've done now with that. If Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, no coaches should be a first ballot Hall of Famer anymore. Unless someone comes in years from now and absolutely shatters Belichick's Super Bowls. You have now set the precedent that the greatest coach of all time not being a first ballot Hall of Famer means no coach that has done less than Bill Belichick should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That means, let me just list off some of them. Andy Reid, not going to be first ballot Hall of Famer now. Mike Tomlin, not going to be first ballot Hall of Famer. Sean McVay, not going to be first ballot Hall of Famer. And I could go on and on and on. You have now created this. You've set the precedent now. You've set the precedent, NFL, that if Bill Belichick 8 Super Bowls, and you could say the reason why is, make him wait a year because Spygate and Deflategate. What? You're joking. That is a joke. Which, let me also just bring up another example. So, when Sean Payton eventually is on the ballot, are they going to hold Bountygate against them? Which you could make a case that Bountygate was worse than Deflategate. And that Bountygate was worse than Spygate. You could tell me that if it's worse, you could make Sean Payton wait more than a year. You have created that. Now, depending on how bad the scandal was, you could wait at least a year. And if it's bad, possibly more. Which is a joke from what happens on the field. And we're talking NFL-wise. We are not talking about what's happening at North Carolina right now, in which Bill has lost most of his respectability from what's happening there. I'm surprised he's even doing a second season with how awful his first year was. You go 4-8 in the ACC and don't even make a bowl game. It's not like you're in the SEC, which is a big conference, or the Big Ten. You're in quite possibly one of the lesser of the big conferences in college football. Let's just go through for college football. For the sake of the argument, you couldn't do anything where, yes, the ACC has one strong team. It's Miami, who didn't even make it to the ACC championship, by the way. I just want that to be clear. The best team in the ACC didn't even make the conference championship. You instead had Duke, who went 9-5, make it to your conference championship and win your conference championship. I just want that to be said for the sake of the argument. I don't know why I'm talking about the ACC now. I was talking about Bill. And also Robert Kraft is not a first ballot Hall of Famer either, which again, 6 Super Bowls, possibly 7 after Sunday. One of the greatest owners. And he's not in the Hall of Fame. He's not. It's a joke. It's beyond a joke that possibly the greatest coach and owner combination at the same time is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Which you have now moved the goalposts and made the Hall of Fame, which is supposed to be the top achievement, much more shallow. And yet we're finding out who's making it into the Hall of Fame later this week. So I'm going to see some of the guys that are on there that is like, which another thing I'm going to talk, as this is happening as well, are you going to hold that against Tom Brady? Because if Tom Brady, when he's on the ballot, which by the way, he's going to be on the ballot in 2 years. In 2 years, when Tom Brady's on the ballot and he is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, you can circle your way back to this day, February 3rd, 2026. And that will be the day. That will be the day. When that happens, because it's going to happen. I hate that it will happen, but watch, it is going to happen. When Tom Brady is left off the Hall of Fame in his first ballot because of Deflategate and Spygate, which it will happen, that is when the Hall of Fame will be officially more dead than the Pro Bowl. Which, by the way, the Pro Bowl tonight, I'm not watching it because I could give less of a damn about it because of how bad they've mangled it. Shedeur Sanders, of all people. Shedeur Sanders is in the Pro Bowl. The QBs they offered it before Shedeur took it to C.J. Stroud and Justin Fields. Justin Fields, who had a god-awful year, is about to get cut in 2 months. That Justin Fields, the one that the Jets are about to eat $20 million in dead cap for. That Justin Fields. And people are like, oh, you watched the Pro Bowl? No. Because the Pro Bowl is no longer, it used to mean something. It used to be truly the best guys. Nowadays, no. We should have realized this a few years ago when Tyler Huntley got in. You can say, oh, but what about Mac Jones? Mac Jones actually had an all right season that year. That was off of his rookie year. So you could say that was fine. Tyler Huntley, though, the guy who since then has been a part of 3 different teams. 3. Which, by the way, again, the AFC Pro Bowl roster, it is a joke. It is a complete joke. You have, by the way, you look at the rosters now. So you have, so your QBs are, by the way, I'm only doing the AFC. For now, I am only doing the AFC for the sake of this argument. Joe Burrow, Shedeur Sanders, and Joe Flacco. All of which are alternates. All of which are alternates. The only people offensively on this team that should make it in. Jamar Chase, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Devon Achane, and honestly, the rest of the linemen. Because those are truly some of the best linemen in the conference. When the only positions you get right are the running backs and the linemen. What are you going to do? The NFC at least, yeah, you had two alternates, but the alternates you have, because the NFC is a whole lot stronger than the AFC. You have Jalen Hurts and Jared Goff as alternates. Dak is there. You have Nakua, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. Then Gibbs, CMC, Bijan, Trey McBride, Jake Ferguson, and also for the offensive line, you have Penei Sewell, Trent Williams, Tyler Smith, Joe Tooney, Chris Lindstrom, Drew Dahlman, and Cam Jurgens. That is offense. The offense alone blows them out. That's not even getting into the defense. They have to face Aiden Hutchinson, Brian Burns, Jared Verse, Jack Campbell, Cooper DeJean, Antoine Winfield. And also, it's like, oh yeah, but Keyshawn Nixon's an alternate. Keyshawn Nixon as an alternate, I could give less of a damn about. I could care less. The AFC, you have, honestly, the guys that deserve to be there. Will Anderson, Nick Bonino, Roquan Smith, Derek Stingley Jr., Kaimi Lassiter, even though he's an alternate, Kyle Hamilton. Yeah, they have guys there that also deserve, but their offense is so bad that it's not going to matter. It is not going to matter. So, now that I've gotten the two important bits out of the way for football, we finally have the rest of the head coaching jobs done. Well, the Raiders is not official because they are planning on hiring the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, Mitch Kubiak, but because Seattle's in the Super Bowl, they cannot finalize it until after Sunday. So the news will probably be official Monday after the Super Bowl, but the Raiders have their guys, so first-time head coach. You're going to draft Fernando Mendoza. They haven't picked a new OC yet. I think he's going to pick his offensive coordinator, which honestly, I think the Raiders, they're going to be on an upward trajectory. But the thing that their main thing they have to do, you have to figure out what you're doing with Max Crosby and Geno Smith. Geno, you could send him to Siberia. You could send him away. I don't think he's going to mentor Mendoza. If he's going to mentor Mendoza, fine, you can keep him. But I doubt that's going to happen. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Max Crosby, I feel like that bridge is burnt. I feel like with what they did with them at the end of last season, I feel like that bridge is burnt. I know he loves being a part of the Raiders. I think that bridge is burnt. If you could get a good offer for him, if you could get 1 or 2 firsts plus maybe a young player, I feel like you take it. I feel like you take it. That way, it helps the rebuild. It would hurt losing him, but if you could get a decent package, you have to. You have to do it. The Cardinals are hiring Mike LaFleur, Matt LaFleur's brother, as their head coach, which it's interesting. He's also probably going to pick his offensive coordinator as well, which, if this is a staff that finally gives Marvin Harrison the ball, then it's all right. Then it's fine. However, I doubt it's going to happen. Especially with how Michael Wilson is. They don't know what they're doing with their QB. I think realistically, Kyler's probably going to get traded or released. So we shall see how that goes. But I don't feel too optimistic. And then the head coaching job, which I was scratching my head at. So Cleveland couldn't get anybody in the room, and it looked like they were just going to promote Jim Schwartz. Then the news breaks on my phone on Wednesday morning that they hired Todd Munkett, who it looked like he was about to take the job as the Giants offensive coordinator. Out of nowhere. First off, I didn't even know that he interviewed for the job. That's how out of the blue it was. I see the notification, and I'm like, huh? Because I'm at home. My dad has the day off that day. I'm like, they just hired the former Ravens offensive coordinator. He's like, what? When my dad is confused? And by the way, he's been a football coach forever. He's seen some crazy hires. With that move, has him confused. That's how you know it's just out of the blue. Which, by the way, shout out Dad. Shout out to him. He'll be watching the Super Bowl and he'll be rooting for the Patriots. He'll probably be having a good time watching it. what he'll be doing, I don't know. Same with me. I don't know what I'm doing for the Super Bowl either. But when I saw that news, I was completely confused because I'm like, I thought they were going to hire Jim Schwartz, who's already there. That's another season as their defensive coordinator, at least. Jim Schwartz gets wind of this news, and he is rightfully pissed. He's rightfully pissed off. And I don't blame him. With how he, was managing the defense, which, by the way, the defense was the best part of that team. The only good things on offense were Judkins before his leg snapped and Harold Fannin. That's it. So with that being said, he is like, okay, I'm not going to be your head coach. Leaves the building. We don't know if he's getting fired or not, or if he's just resigning. But if the Browns decide to let him go, or if someone just decides, oh, we're going to trade for a defensive coordinator, there's a lot of teams that could use Jim Schwartz. He's one of the better defensive coordinators in the league right now. He's stuck in Cleveland. But story for another time, I guess, what's happening with Jim Schwartz. We got a lot of time until that ultimately plays out. Which you may wonder, if the Giants did not get Todd Monken, who did they get? Well, we found out today when they hired Matt Nagy. And I immediately messaged a friend of mine who's a Giants fan. I sent him the news, and he just sends me 2 words. Actually, 3 words. This is fun. Sarcastically saying that. Regarding the fact that he could barely do anything with Patrick Mahomes this past year. But this is what Harbaugh needs as his offensive coordinator. The guy who just got replaced by Eric Bieniemy. Him? That's what you need? Well, this affects Jackson Dart and Malik Neighbors in the Giants offense. I thought it was going to be, when it was like, oh, Muggs is going to be the offensive coordinator, I'm like, okay, the Giants might actually be in the upper half of offenses. Now, I think it's going to be about, at best, 13 to 18. At best. Because the talent with the Giants is a whole lot worse than with KC. And I know the run game wasn't great. I know Isaiah Pacheco is dust, and Kareem Hunt is old. I know that. But at the same time, good Lord. I don't get it. I don't get that move at all. Doesn't make sense. Why do you downgrade? That's not even the worst offensive coordinator hire I've seen. It's not even the worst one. The Bills made a worse one. I'm going to do the defensive coordinator. They're doing Jim Leonard. Okay. Sure. But Joe Brady, this is your first time as a head coach. And you pick for your offensive coordinator. I can't believe you brought him back. I can't believe you brought him back. I actually was questioning everything I knew when I saw the news that he was back. You brought back, as an offensive coordinator in this league in 2026, Pete Carmichael. You brought him back. Pete Carmichael, who the last year or two in New Orleans, his offense just fizzled out. The guy that made his career having Drew Brees as his QB. Now you give him Josh Allen and no receivers. Like, people think Keon Coleman is going to be good. Keon Coleman has not shown anything yet. And besides that, who else do you have as a receiver? Brandon Cooks, who's on an expiring contract. Josh Palmer. Curtis Samuel. You need to sign a wide receiver. You don't have a true wide receiver one. And thing is, you feel like Oh, they're bringing in a Super Bowl champion. That championship was from over 15 years ago. For context, for when that Super Bowl was won, when Pete Carmichael won a Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator for the Saints, that was now 16 years ago. I was 6. I was 6 years old when that happened. I was 6 years old and I had way more hair on my head. And now, you bring him back. You bring him back as a coordinator in this league. Buffalo, what are you doing? What are you doing? Pete Carmichael. Pete Carmichael. Why? 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 And I thought Matt Nagy was going to be the worst one. No. No. Pete Carmichael. Pete Carmichael. Let's just get the rest of the football news out of the way. Raheem Morris is now the 49ers defensive coordinator. I like that hire. Anthony Weaver was hired as the Ravens defensive coordinator. I don't like that move. I don't like it at all. The Vikings fired their GM during the Senior Bowl. He made a comment about, oh, we should have kept Darnold, and he got fired, I think, like 2 days later. Should have kept your mouth shut. Ian Cunningham, who was helping Ryan Poles in Chicago, who's the GM there, is now the Falcons GM. Joe Lombardi was fired as the Broncos offensive coordinator, and they have promoted Davis Webb. I like it. I like it. He actually was doing a good job there. So I'll give it a shot. And that's all the football news out of the way. NBA. First off, the trade deadlines this week. And we already have some dominoes falling. A couple of dominoes have already fallen. We don't know what's happening with Giannis. There's a chance he gets traded. I think more likely he gets traded in the offseason. So I think he's going to stay there. I don't think AD's getting traded. I think if there is a big name getting traded, I think James Harden's getting traded. I think he's getting traded now. He requested a trade. Apparently, there's a chance he's going to Cleveland in a deal which includes Darius Garland, which, interesting. And also, it's going to be interesting as well because the Clippers, they're 9th right now. They're in a play-in spot. And they're like, I think, 4 games that are good on 11th. So this just came out of nowhere. The deadline is in 2 days. Now it's like, oh, yeah, Harden wants out. And yes, he is notorious for doing this. He's notorious for this. So I'm not surprised, but the timing's like, wait until the offseason. Golly. Anywho, standings check. Eastern Conference 1 through 6. Pistons, the Knicks, Celtics, Raptors, the Cavs, and the 76ers. By the way, the teams in 5th and 6th. Had news with that. I'll get to them in a second. Playing teams, Miami, Orlando, Chicago, and Atlanta. Then we have the Hornets, Bucks, who might not have Giannis for long. The Nets, Wizards, and Pacers. The Western Conference 1 through 6, we have the Thunder, Spurs, Nuggets, now with Nikola Jokic back. Rockets, Timberwolves, and the Lakers. Teams in the play-in, we have the Suns, Warriors, Clippers, and Blazers. Then we have Memphis, Dallas, Utah, New Orleans, and Sacramento. So you may wonder what was the news. Well, Sacramento made a trade getting DeAndre Hunter, giving up Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. It was a 3-team trade. Dario Saric going to, what was the third team? I think it was Chicago. And they got a second-round pick in that. I think that's what it was. And Paul George got suspended 25 games for medication, mental health related. So now he's out. By the way, that was the last time was the first. Actually, I think it was the second game he was out. He's out until like March. So there's that. So that's all for basketball news. Hockey news, we did have a trade before the Olympics because the Olympics are coming up. The Olympics start... When do the Olympics start? Oh, wait, the Olympics are going now. I am... what's the word? Oh, no, it's this week. It's this upcoming week. And then after Thursday, they're off until... They're off for a while. They're off until... When do they come back? They're off for 3 weeks? Good Lord. So, anywho, last standings check before the Olympic break. Tampa still leads the Atlantic Division. Then we have the Red Wings, Montreal, Buffalo, Boston, Ottawa, Toronto, and the Panthers. Metro Division, we have Carolina, Pittsburgh, the Islanders, Capitals, Blue Jackets, Flyers, Devils, and Rangers. Colorado still leads over Minnesota. Then we have Dallas, Utah, Nashville, which, by the way, Nashville looking for a new GM now. Barry Trotz is stepping down. He's going to be the GM until they can find a replacement. But Barry Trotz, on his way out of there. Chicago, Winnipeg, and St. Louis. Pacific Division, tie with Vegas and Edmonton. Then we have Seattle, Anaheim, LA, San Jose, Calgary, and Vancouver. Which, by the way, the trade deadline for the NHL is coming up in about a month or so. So we're going to see a lot of moves coming that way. So, for the wild cards as of now, Buffalo and Boston hold the wild cards. Followed by, in the West, Utah and the Ducks. So there's that. Also, Andre Palat got traded to the Islanders in exchange for a prospect and 2 picks. Wrestling news, we had the Royal Rumble this past weekend. Results, we had Liv Morgan win the Women's Royal Rumble. I like that move. Then for the actual matches, we had Drew McIntyre retain against Sami Zayn. Not really a shocker. And Gunther made AJ Styles pass out. And now AJ Styles' time in WWE is over. And then the Men's Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns returned and won. I thought, oh, Braun Breaker is going to make it far. He drew number 2, and they brought back the Masked Man storyline. Had him get attacked by a Masked Man before the start of the Rumble. Roll him in. He immediately gets eliminated by Oba Femi. Which, by the way, Oba Femi looked like a stud in that match. But I'm like, man, I was looking forward to Oba and Braun, and then that happened. Also, best part of that match when it comes to returns, we didn't have a lot of returns. The original El Grande Americano, a.k.a. Chad Gable's back. And he was with the guy who took the gimmick from him, which is Ludwig Kaiser. So they did the Spider-Man meme, too. They did the point. They did the point meme, that was kind of funny. And also, Roman Reigns already said he was picking CM Punk for WrestleMania. So, already, first WrestleMania match. Check. Racing news. So, originally the plan was I was going to talk about the Clash of Bowman Gray and start talking about the Daytona 500 qualifying for this week. However, the Clash has still not happened. It's supposed to be tomorrow. North Carolina's been hit with snowstorms, and it's supposed to snow tomorrow. It's supposed to snow during when the Clash is going to be, and apparently the Daytona 500, which is next week, might be hit with a hurricane. Okay. First off, what kind of gods did NASCAR piss off with the lawsuit? As soon as the text messages got leaked, they pissed off someone in the racing gods. Because there's no way that we have had the Clash get moved to Wednesday. The first time we were having a Wednesday race since the pandemic, that was an all messed up season. Along with the fact, when the race is supposed to happen, during the main race, it's supposed to start raining at 3, then it's supposed to turn into snow. So you mean to tell me that at this point, just call it off. Call it off. You would have been better off doing it today, but if you're like, oh yeah, the roads are not safe. I'd be like, you weren't prepared for this? Then I remember, it's North Carolina and it's in the South. They don't get snow. I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's like, the roads are still not safe. I was supposed to come down here till Monday. He's still there. He is still in North Carolina. He probably is going to be there at this point until I think Wednesday or Thursday. So get back safe, brother. I'll say that. That last bit of news for the week. So update on the Prema thing. They're now missing the first 4 races of the season. So they are now going to be missing, of course, St. Pete, Phoenix, Arlington, and Barber. Also, speaking of IndyCar, they had another race added during the week. They did finally get done the Washington street race. And it was the President of the United States that signed an executive order for that race to happen. Which, I will say this. It's good to have a street race in the Northeast again. However, regarding the fact the last time we tried this was in Boston, that was a decade ago, where that race never happened, because the guy who was going to run it took the money. And I'm like, okay, it's a couple-hour drive. I might try to see what my uncle's doing. I might try to go with him. I know he's a racing fan. We were supposed to go to the Boston race, fun fact. We were supposed to go to that race. We had tickets. And then it got canceled. And we never got our money back. So, I will say this. The fact that this was an executive order signed in, when you take into account, by the way, I just want this to be said, for the record, we only have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8. We have 8 Americans running full time. And there's a sort of irony with all I'm going to say this. Disclaimer. Disclaimer here. If you do not like what is about to be said, then the station here, not responsible for it. The fact that the race itself is happening is not the ironic part. It's the fact that one of the guys they've been promoting the series around is Mexican. With all the stuff that's happening right now in Minnesota and all that, there's a sort of irony there. I don't know what. There's a sort of irony. With Pat O'Ward being one of the most marketable drivers in the sport, and completely against what's happening with the administration. Completely against it. There's a sort of irony there. Don't know why. Just is. He just had a commercial during the NFC Championship game. They had Shipping Up to Boston playing as, which by the way, the most unlikely song I'd ever hear in an IndyCar commercial. They had Shipping Up to Boston playing in Pat O'Ward's commercial. They still have an Alex Palou commercial that's going to get, actually no, that's probably not going to get aired. I think it's going to get aired soon. It was like last year they had it during the Super Bowl. Which, by the way, best thing IndyCar marketing has done in ages is these commercials. But yeah, the fact that this is an executive order and one of the top drivers in the series is Mexican. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. The joke writes itself. It does. Like, I know I'm not a big, bring politics into racing and sports thing. I'm not big into that. This is one of the few exceptions that the joke writes itself. I'm just going to end off on that. I'm just going to end it there. Anywho, that's all for this week's edition of The Last Word. This is TJ signing off, and I will see you all next week after the Super Bowl. Go Patriots. See you all after the Patriots win the Super Bowl, hopefully. Peace.